So Las Vegas is really the true home to UFC. What makes fight night so special and important?
Vegas is as Madison Square Garden's a mecca for fighting, but Vegas is a mecca for fighting. All the years of boxing, all the development of the UFC there. Recently with COVID, of course, we've been restricted to the Apex with maybe an audience of 50 to 100 people or nobody. And I still give it my all. But there's always that grand excitement of being in Vegas, the whole thing, the aura of Las Vegas, the shows, the this, the that. And you can't beat a Vegas atmosphere. When it's packed, it's unreal. Like the T-Mobile show we had there last month, it was just amazing. It's Vegas. Vegas is the town for the greatest shows on earth. And I would like to say that the UFC is one of the greatest shows on earth. The announcing is a work in progress, but I'm better at it, I think.
I heard Tom Brady called you the greatest announcer of all time. So I think you've earned
Yeah,
that.
that was quite a thing for him to say. I called him the GOAT, and then he just started laughing. He goes, "What do you mean?" And then he told me that. And it's, wow, Tom, thank you. Coming from you, that's amazing. There's you know, certain comments, whether it's the great Tom Brady or whether it's a 12-year-old young boy or girl coming up to me, they both have the same level of excitement for me. If I can have effect on a young child growing and as well as an effect on the greatest quarterback that ever lived, it's both equal to me. I'm very humble about the whole thing. I go out, I do my job, and every night I walk out in the octagon. To me, that's the time I have to prove that I deserve this job. I have to prove it to the fans, prove it to Dana White and the powers that be that I work for, and prove it to the press and prove it to my mom. And so I'm very happy. And when I get out, I just got out of this great show in London Saturday. I'm going to Columbus, Ohio this Saturday. And
Wow.
it's time to prove again that I deserve this job. I treat it like the first night every night. That's what keeps my passion rolling. And when my passion starts to wane and I can't perform the way I want to perform, then it's time for me to retire.
Where are you located?
I'm in Los Angeles. I live near the beach.
So when you come to Vegas, do you stay overnight or do you fly back?
I usually, for a Vegas trip, I'll fly in on a Friday night and I'll leave early Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm. Where do you usually stay?
It depends. Like lately, MGM, Mandalay Bay, the Wynn.
Do you ever come downtown?
Rarely.
We got to get you over
No
to the
offense.
Plaza.
No offense, rarely. Because I get there on a Friday night. I've got to pre-prep and do everything. Then I got to get right to the show, full day on Saturday. And afterwards, I like to hit Piero's for dinner or depending on where I'm staying. And it's all good.
We had Freddie from Piero's on our podcast as well previously.
Oh, yeah. Character.
What does that day before the fight look like for you? How do you prepare for? Do you do vocal warm-ups?
Nope.
Or anything?
Nope. I don't rehearse.
Wow.
I don't rehearse. Of course, I take care of my voice. I don't want to do anything to damage my voice. But at the same time, I want to walk out in the arena, feel the energy off the crowd. And that drives me. That's what drives me.
How was it like when, especially during the big time of COVID and doing some of the events at the Apex, how has that changed not being able to feed off the energy for you to be able to give that same dynamic performance that you usually do?
When you're performing, you might say it's almost a form of acting in a way. The bottom line is that I need to create, in my mind, I need to create the energy for the people watching on television that there is an audience, right? So I'm still going to give it my all. Now, obviously, when I'm surrounded by 20,000 people like I was Saturday, the energy that creates them combined with the energy I put into my announcing, it becomes even more. But still, if nobody's there, I'm going for it. My job is to enhance that moment for the fighters coming in that octagon. They're walking out where normally they have fans going crazy over them. Now they're walking out to no fans or minimal fans. So that's unfair in a way, but it is the reality of the current world in which we live. So it's up to me to enhance that moment for them and bring that energy, right? I think it would just look totally different if I just, there's only 20 people here or 50 people. Let me just tone it down.
Yeah.
No, this is a show.
Are there any names that are hard to pronounce?
Yeah. And you'll probably be surprised by this. Give me Khabib Nurmagomedov or the longest syllabic names all day long. But if you give me a name like Frank Trigg or Mike Swick, they're single syllable names. They take a little bit more to create the excitement from.
Well, you add the H into it.
Yeah, that's funny. No, that's just the way I say it. It's like the emphasis I put on it.
Mm-hmm.
There was a writer for ESPN that did a really cool article on my brother and I, and he wrote about the H. And I didn't even think about it till he wrote it. And I said, oh, yeah, I can see where that could be interpreted.
Uh-huh. Oh, interesting. I hear that a slot machine is being created for you.
It was an online slot machine, not a standalone in the casino. And they're actually out on the market now. There's one for my brother and one for me, and they're on the various gaming sites that are out there.
Do you gamble?
Yeah. I treat it in a very different way. I treat my gambling like a business. I can tell you every day I played, what I made, what I lost, tally at the end of the month and tally at the end of the year for the last 15 years. I've only had 2 losing years.
Oh, wow.
Because you're a poker player.
Yeah.
Every good poker player will keep everything there. But you
not
do
all
the same?
of them, but the smart ones do, because anybody comes up to you and says, "Hey, I just won 5,000." They don't tell you about the 10 times they lost 3, right? So I treat it very realistic. So I'm realistic with myself. And again, I treat it like a business. But I have fun while I do it.
Do you have any plans for the upcoming WSOP events?
I'd love to, but with the UFC and everything, I won't be able to play the main event. I haven't been able to block out the main event for at least the last 6 years. And the last time I played, I made it to day 5 and placed like 450th or so out of 80,000 plus people, won about 30,000, got knocked out the day 5 right before the first break with pocket aces on the button. And the guy slow played me. He had a pair of 8s in the hole and he flopped quad 8s. So I lost. I had the dead man's hand. If you know that Wild Bill Hickok story, aces and 8s, went out with aces and 8s.
Wow.
So lost 532,000 chips on one hand. I was on my way. I was in the top. I was right there.
Oh, man.
And ESPN people even said I was like a dark horse coming along. That dark horse fell.
Do you have any advice for people getting started in their careers?
They're 2 different fields, but in announcing, it's a difficult area to get into because there's not a lot of jobs out there, but it's not possible. And if you have a dream of that, you should concentrate and work on getting reps doing other things, whether it's on the sidelines for a high school basketball game or whatever. Get as many reps as you can to work on your voice. At the same time, with a podcast, a lot of people have podcasts today, as we know. Just go into it, be yourself. And it depends what kind of podcast you want to have. But if you're going to have a podcast that's specific, be an expert at what you're going to be specific about. If you're going to have a podcast like I do, like a lifestyles podcast, and concentrate on just talking and your opinions and develop it. And again, the more reps you get, the more comfortable you get. Every time I do a podcast, it's a very cathartic experience. It's almost like sitting down with a psychologist, which I've never done, but I feel like I have, because at the end of the show, I rant, I rave, I get everything out, and I feel like, oh, feel good. That was good.
Better now.
Feel a little relieved.
Totally. I think we feel the same way.
I do have a question for you. Are there any plans for you to be here for the draft? Because there'd be nothing special than seeing Bruce Buffer do one of the picks for the NFL draft.
I would love to. I appeared at the Pro Bowl, and they were talking about me appearing at the Super Bowl. And I love football, so if I get approached by it, then I would definitely, my schedule permitting, love to be there. I've already been contacted by one person who's talking to him, but nothing concrete yet. We will see. But when it comes to the NFL, I love it. The Super Bowl was a bucket list for me. There was talk about me doing it. And I was honored that Dwayne The Rock went out and said, "It is time." A little too many times he said it is time, but it was still really cool to see Dwayne do his thing, because The Rock is just always a showman.
We have to thank you so much for your time today and for joining us on the corner of Main Street. People can stay up to date with you on Instagram at Bruce Buffer UFC or at brucebuffer.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Yeah, check me out at brucebuffer.com. We do a tremendous amount of videos for weddings, birthdays, birth of babies, special business events on Cameo and at brucebuffer.com. And partial proceeds I send to military, animal, and children's charities.
Wow.
So we try to pay it forward as much as we can. But the thank you notes my partner Chris and I get actually bring tears to our eyes sometimes. Being part of somebody's wedding on their special day is a big honor for me. And I love doing all that stuff.
Amazing. You're a legend. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
We'll
you. Just
see you
call me
next
Bruce,
time.
but I like it.